Good morning and welcome to my channel. My name is Shoshana and I want to talk a little bit about looping in place and breaking that cycle of looping, um, interrupting the cycles that hold us in place within our glass ceilings, within what we believe that we are capable of, or what we believe is possible for us in this life, because we are infinite beings. We are connected to all that is. Whatever is possible for anyone else, and I mean on an energetic level, on an energetic expansion level, is possible for us. So we can far exceed whatever life it is that we are living. We can live multiple lifetimes within one lifetime. And many times we are stuck in place because of fear of stepping out into something new or into the unknown, or we don't even see the options because of our glass ceilings, because of our conditioning, because of what we believe is possible for us. And these beliefs are not at a conscious level. These beliefs are running our life from the darkness, from inside. That's why it's so important to do our shadow work, to open up all of the invisible things that are running our lives. And I kind of want to start this off with a story that there is a house that I walk by that has a dog that is in a cage in the backyard. And this cage is on gravel, and it is maybe 10 by 10 feet, and it has it has a top over it, right? So it's completely a complete cage. And sometimes in the morning or in the late evening, I'll see the dog out running around. So it gets some freedom. But whenever it's out running around, it's very, very timid. It won't come to me to let me pet it. And anytime that I kind of even look in its direction, it takes off running back into its yard, back into the yard of the house where it's in the cage, where it's caged in. And I was thinking to myself, that when this dog is let out of the cage, it is so conditioned to its confinement that it runs back to its safety place, and it doesn't see that there are options outside, that it could just take off running and go somewhere else. And nowadays, inside of society, even, I was thinking to myself, well, okay, well, what if it did take off? If somebody found it, most likely it has a chip, and it would be brought right back to where it was. So not only do we have these internal conditionings, many times we have these external systems, let's say like the credit system, or society system, the bank system, the need to have these proof of what we're worth in by way of diplomas, or by way of, oh yeah, you studied this and these are your grades, therefore you're worth this much amount in the world, right, in society. And so many times, not only do we have these internal glass ceilings, the outside society, as long as we are playing inside of the box, right, as long as we are getting our worth from whatever the matrix or society as a whole, or whatever the illusion tells us, then we have these external glass ceilings as well that are kind of holding us in place, looping us in the same place. We have no way of escaping as long as we are playing within the ball game, within the arena of the matrix. As long as we are holding ourselves within that place, then that applies to us. And in addition to the story, is in the last few years, there's been 3 times that while I was hiking in the mountains, I like going out in the mountains, while I was hiking, that I met or saw from afar, I didn't really meet, but I saw from afar, 3 different occasions, 3 different packs of dogs. And they weren't coyotes, they weren't coyotes or wolves, or what are the little ones, jackals. So they were a pack of dogs, and they were dogs that I guess took off from somewhere and were living completely free. and they looked like they were thriving and flourishing, and they were definitely wild, living out in nature. And I was thinking, because you can take that into also like the human state, that we have all options open. We could pack a bag and just go and be free. And I've actually met a young woman that I actually traveled with a little bit in Italy. Was it Italy, or was it, no, it was Brazil, that we traveled a little bit together for a couple of weeks. And what she does is she just travels. She doesn't have a home, and her whole life is just traveling. In the winter, she goes and works in Alaska and makes some money. And then the rest of the year, she just travels around the world in all different places with a backpack. Everything that she owns is in that backpack. And I learned a lot from her. We traveled together for a few days, maybe it was a week or so. And what I learned so much from her, her perspective is wide open. And I learned that you don't need that much. You really don't need a lot of stuff. Almost everything that she owned, she said she had some boxes of things at her parents' house, but for the most part, everything that she owned, all of her clothes, everything that she needed, she carried around on her back. And one of the she didn't want things. Like if you try to give her something, she's like, no, 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 I'm trying to keep it as light as possible, because everything that I take with me is a weight on me. And I've kind of that has stuck with me for a long time in also in my house, because in the past, also when I was morbidly obese and collecting things, very collecting a lot of things, you could say, on kind of a little bit of a hoarding tendency in the past. And I've gone from that to a more minimalistic kind of way of being. When I start getting too much stuff, I start emptying things out. I start throwing things away or giving things away, because I've realized that the more that I have, the heavier I am. The more difficult it is for me to make change, the more difficult it is for me to move if I want to move. If I have a whole bunch of stuff that is accumulated around me, then I'm responsible for that much more stuff. It's that much more heavy for me to move. So I've kind of in the last few years been giving up more and more. Over the last 12 years, I guess, since I began this awakening process, I've been releasing more and more and more. And the truth is, I've given a lot to my brothers and sisters. And when I go to their houses and I see the stuff that I have given them, I get joy from it. I get joy watching them enjoy it. And I get joy from not having all that weighing me down and holding me in place. So I kind of want to get back to the looping. Um, so when we are in a specific situation, we're in the circumstances, right, of our own life, and we think something to be true. So we're in a loop of reality. We think something, we project it outwardly, we get a reflection of that same thing back, and it keeps looping, and that reinforces our belief. So we think something, that's what we see, that's what we reinforce, that's what we believe to be true, because we see the belief is getting reinforced. Now the thing is that every single option is available to you in every single moment. Whatever you're tuned to is what you're going to be seeing. So if you are tuned to, I have to work this 9 to 5 job so that I can hold this house, so that I can be secure, and those are your beliefs, and I can't get something better than this because I'm playing in the societal system, which is also holding me in place, right? Because I'm being kind of held place inside of my own internal self. And I'm also telling the world what my place is. And so the external world is grabbing onto that and kind of making that, forming whatever your glass ceilings now into blocks, in the physical world. And so it's kind of like you're creating the circumstances that are holding you into the same circumstances. It's a paradox of sort. You are seeing what it is that you believe, so that is all that you're seeing. It's like you have blinders on like a horse. You don't see around you all the other options because these are this is the path that you allow yourself to think in. Whereas if you just start opening it up slowly, you'll start broadening your view. You'll start seeing there's more and more and more and more and more. And you can go straight from in your mind, right, to start breaking that pattern, because you have to break the pattern. You have to break that, interrupt that cycle, change the energetic dynamic that you have going, right? Because when you create a dynamic, the more you continue in that dynamic, it's an energetic kind of field that you get lost in this loop, and you begin to loop in place, and you are constantly and consistently looping, and it's very difficult when something gets a lot of momentum going. It's very difficult to even see that there are other options. So you can break this by saying, okay, I remember when I was living in Chicago and I was obese, and I was in a marriage that was falling apart. It wasn't working, and I felt stuck. We have four beautiful children that are already two adult children now, and two teenagers now. But back then they were young children. I was an alcoholic. I was weighed twice as much as I weigh now, and I remember getting home and sitting in, living in the suburbs, had a business going, and I remember getting home and sitting in the car outside of the home and not wanting to go in, and just sitting there and not wanting to go in into my house. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, if the mom in this house doesn't want to go into the house, what do the children in this house feel like? And this was getting really close to the point where I did go ahead and make a change and break the dynamic. But I remember I was at such a point in my life that I really didn't see how to change the dynamic, because I was stuck in my own self, also with addiction. And I remember thinking to myself, I could go to the airport right now. I could drive my car to the airport, buy a plane ticket to India, and get on a plane and just disappear. I could do that. I could actually do that. And the thought, of course, I didn't do it. I still haven't been to India. I want to go to India. But just the thought that I could do that. As sometimes I would imagine that I could just get in my car and keep on driving. I could just go to Montana. I could just be in Montana and, just go live in the mountains. And just knowing that you're not stuck, you could do that. You could actually do that. You have the power in your life. It kind of gave me the notion that if I really, really wanted to and I had the courage, I could do it. And a lot of times I would also have the thought of, well, if I died right now, let's just say I died just like that, life would continue. They would figure it out without me. So it's not like you are ever really stuck, because at some point, death death of this body is a part of this life, and life will continue after. So whatever your life is only your life, right? And once it's gone, that's it. It's gone. It's not relevant anymore. The people in your life will hurt, and it will impact their life as well, especially if they're attached to you. But life goes on. And you know so you pass away, and then, okay, so nobody's there to pay your mortgage. So what happens then? Yeah. So you can step out of your life at any time. If your whole life collapses when you step out of it and you watch it just collapse, it's a life that you didn't want. So just let it collapse, and you can go live a completely different life if that is what you want. Or you can slowly, there's so many different ways to get to the same thing. And or you can slowly shift into a life that you want more. or that you is more aligned with your internal being. There was just a beautiful bird that just flew around, beautiful black and white. And so if you are looping in a life that you do not feel fulfilled in, you have to break that cycle. You have to break that dynamic. Stick a stick in your spoke somehow. Know that you are doing this by choice. Whether you believe it's by choice or not, or whether you believe that you're stuck or not, you are there by choice. You are there because, well, because you feel that you can't get out of it. That's your choice to stay there. So it's always, you always have the power in your own life. And when you look outwardly at the world in a certain way, you are creating that because that is your perspective. The way that you see the world, right? Because now we're going to talk about changing those loops. When you see the world in a specific way, then you are getting that reflected back to you. That's reinforcing that. And you have this cycle that you've created, right? So if you change it here and you say, okay, well, I'm going to look at the world a different way. I'm going to start looking at all options are open. Everything around me is malleable and fluid, and I can change my life up. And you start looking for whatever it is that you want, a relationship, the most beautiful man. I am attracting the most beautiful man in the whole world that is going to come into, that is in my life already. You start seeing it as if it's already there. It's just a matter of recognizing it when you see it. And you change that mindset, or I have unlimited resources at my fingertips, and you start looking around at all the resources that you have. You start looking around, appreciation is key. Start looking around at all the resources that you do have. More resources will start showing up. You start creating a different loop rather than a loop of feeling stuck and fear and can'ts. You start seeing what the cans are, what I can be appreciated for, where life is flourishing around me, all of the opportunities and options that I have. And then you will start seeing, and you create the story of your life in your own mind, whatever that is. You create it. I am an artist. I am attractive. I am a a light life. I am whatever it is that you are imagining, and you create, because when you can see it in your mind's eye, because everything in the universe is in existence simultaneously. Every emotion, every physical thing that is in form is in the universe right now. You know it is. If you can imagine it, it's there. And in just by imagining it, you create its existence. And so when you can see, right, that you see your new life, you can start seeing the signs of it externally. And sometimes it's difficult to go from this picture to this picture. So you can start slowly shifting, slowly see the signs of the life that you are creating. And it will start snowballing. You'll start seeing more and more and more of it. And you also break that cycle of the old life that isn't working for you by broadening your view of what is available, and what is available and attainable for you. There's another word here, right? But I'm not going to get stuck on it. So I am sending you guys so much love. If you would like to schedule a one-on-one session with me, my contact information is below or in my website. I love you. Thank you so much.